The next thing I want to show you is how to attach your discs to your glass. People shy away from gluing. I like to call it cold working. It's just the only way that it's going to happen. Aluminum absolutely cannot go in the kiln. It will just melt. So I choose my position on my disc where I'm going to put this. And I just make sure that I can grind. Now I'm using a Fordham, but if you have a Dremel, anything that will allow you to take the shine off of this and put a little bit of a groove in it. And you don't need water or anything, you just fast. So I'm just going to take and scuff that up a little bit. And you want to make sure that you clean that dust off. That could prevent your the adhesion to the pieces. So that now is going to sit in there like that, and we'll just take it over and I'll show you how to attach it with the silicone. Okay, now I'm just going to do a little explanation on how to silicone the flat pieces on. These are so on there, it's amazing. They'll go indoors, outdoors, they're weather resistant, and as long as you you kind of stress to people not to hang them in the wind, because if you're going to drill your hole in the glass, this will eventually cut through unless you use a metal filled core. But the fishing line is great. Just use something heavy. And the little fairy, she's so beautiful. This is our large fairy, and this is the flamingo garden stake, and these guys will be out at Christmas time. Now I'm just going to show you. I've already ground my little bit of texture in there. This again is ground already, so it doesn't need to have anything else done unless, it's been sitting around for a long time. Do a little degreaser on the bottom of it. I always put my silicone on the piece. Oh, it's got a price tag on. On the piece that I'm going to glue on. And you can put quite a bit on a flat area like this. If you're going to do it on the claws, just put a little dab on either side. This is so sticky, this silicone. So if for some reason it squeezes out, don't clean it up until it's dry. And then you can just take a little X-Acto knife, you just trace around the edge and you just slide it underneath a couple of times and it will peel right off. So the only problem with this silicone is it does take a long, long time to dry, but it's so worth it. I leave it overnight, and you can do that by either clamping it. These are just little clamps that I use. And I pile these up by the dozens. I just, as I'm working with one, I just throw it on top of the other. Or you can just use a weight and leave it overnight with a weight on top of it. And that works really good. Now these ones that have the little feet on them, the little backs, I work over the edge of a table. So if I'm going to glue a piece on, I put it down, I put my glue on, and I set this over the edge of the table. So you're not struggling to try and hold it up if you don't have clamps. And that will just stay like that overnight, and then the next morning it's on there. Absolutely beautiful. So okay, the next thing I want to show you is how you can paint or stain or change the color on the aluminum. The aluminum comes burnished, which is nice and shiny, so it's got a real good bite. It will hold paint. All I do is I use a bit of a degreaser, take off any kind of fingerprints or just packaging, the shipping, whatever may have touched it, and that just cleans it up a little bit and opens those the pores back up on it so that the paint will hold really, really well. I don't use a base paint. I just go ahead and spray, put on as many coats as I need. Okay, so this one is sprayed with the Rust-Oleum hammered steel. Now you can use any other, but used hammered steel. It gives it a bit of a texture, so if you have to respray to touch anything up, you're not working on a flat finish. And I usually put about 3 or 4 coats on, and it absolutely comes out beautiful. It's got a little bit of a texture and it looks like metal. So that's a really good one. This one here is a really interesting colors that I found. This is called a color shift, and that's a Rust-Oleum again. And there's two different colors on there. One is a blue that kind of turns to a purple, and the other is green that kind of turns to a gold. And it's got lots and lots of metal flake, and I use it quite a bit on my koi, on the grass, on any kind of water that I want to just add a little bit of bling to. This one is quite heavily painted, but you definitely don't have to do that. You can just touch it up. But get some of that and experiment with it. The colors are absolutely beautiful.